It's track reviews.
Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. And it is time for a track review. I'm going to give this new James Blake cut a shot that everyone has been hyping up. James Blake and a lot of other people have dropped albums this weekend. This is the first big album release week for 2019. You know, things sort of go into hibernation for a little bit in the music industry, subtly so, toward the beginning and very, very, very end of the year, and now it seems like we're getting back into the swing of things, and we're coming out of the gates swinging with guns blazing with a James Blake record locked and loaded. Let's give the song Mile High a shot. A lot of people have been talking about it across the internet because it features Metro Boomin and Travis Scott. Obviously not the first time James has worked with anybody in the hip-hop world or anything like that, but I'm curious to see how exactly these artists mesh together. So Mile High, let's try it and see exactly what goes on. Okay, there we have Mile High, Metro Boomin, Travis Scott, James Blake. I'll say a few things about this track. One, I think the collaborative element of it came together pretty smoothly. At least from my perspective, it seemed pretty clear what sounds and influences were coming from where. I mean, the bass and the rhythms, the percussion very much seemed like your usual mix of, Metro Boomin trap patterns. Meanwhile, Travis Scott's voice, his flows, the auto-tune, that's kind of his usual deal. And then on top of that, it would seem that some of the more lo-fi and textured and strange atmospheric synth sounds combined with James Blake's very forlorn and I guess kind of a burnt voice, which is beckoning in a very dramatic way, is what he's bringing to the table. And it all comes together pretty smoothly. You know, I wouldn't say there's anything too awkward about the pairing of all of these sounds. I think it comes together in a logical way where each artist is kind of contributing what you typically know them for in a song, and it just functions on the most simple and baseline level possible. But what can we really get from this track beyond that? I'm not really sure, because in my opinion, the lyrics, the verses, the flow Travis brings to the table, I mean, the beat itself, some of the sounds that are kind of hanging in the background and painting a very dark ambiance around this track, none of it to me is really all that remarkable. You know, it's cool that the individual elements work together, but is there any individual piece vocally or instrumentally or rhythmically that to me stands out as being like, wow, this is like really good. They really fucking killed it on this track. Not particularly. It's kind of underwhelming, and I'm not really seeing this collaboration as exciting in any way other than in name. Not only that, but I guess there's also a stylistic element to the song that just kind of makes it difficult to swallow it as a James Blake track. I mean, to me, it very much just seems like a Travis Scott song featuring James Blake, as opposed to a James Blake song featuring Travis Scott. Travis Scott is the first and the most present voice that you hear on the cut. I would argue that he steals a lot more limelight throughout the track than James Blake does, even throughout some of the more moody and emotional vocal passages that he brings to the table. I could see this being like a very chill, downtrodden and somewhat experimental cut that could have worked into Astroworld or something like that, but is there really anything about this song that to me says, oh, James Blake, man, this is like such a great James Blake track? Not particularly. And not to try to pigeonhole James Blake, because really every album and project he's dropped up until this point, there's really been very little in the way of stylistic consistency from one project to the next with what he's done. James Blake is an incredibly versatile artist, even if I don't care for one album as much as I do another. But what kind of makes it difficult to see this song right here as like a true blue James Blake track is that it doesn't sound like he's forging a way forward into something different that we're not hearing other artists out there do. It just seems like he's merely lending his voice to an already very established sound and trend which he's brought two artists into the fold to recreate for him on his record. James is merely kind of painting around all of it in a somewhat pretty way, but not in a fashion where it's convincing enough to where I'm thinking, wow, he's really dominating this track, or flipping it in such a way where he's making the sound his own. In my opinion, not really. But I guess those are my thoughts on this track. Again, a little underwhelmed by it, and hopefully deeper cuts on this thing are a bit more exciting and intriguing, and I guess I will leave it at that. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up, or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, James Blake, Mile High, featuring Metro Boomin and Travis Scott, Forever.